Now, Meek Mill just got sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison for violating his probation, and hip-hop is on fire to say the least. There's been a lot of reactions on social media, and Meek Mill is currently trending all over Twitter. A lot of people are extremely upset with how the court of law decided to deal with Meek Mill, and even Jay-Z himself decided to go on Facebook and put out a statement regarding Meek going to jail. But first, let me summarize this whole situation really quick. Now, Meek Mill was in court today regarding 2 recent arrests. One of the arrests was regarding a fight in an airport, and the other arrest was because of a reckless driving charge from back in August. And while he was in court, the judge ruled that Meek Mill violated his probation from his 2009 drugs and weapon case by getting involved in this airport fight that happened back in March, and the reckless driving arrest that happened back in August in New York. And even though both of these cases were dropped, the judge thought that the arrests alone were violations and decided to give Meek Mill 2 to 4 years in prison. And that's the summarized story behind what actually got Meek Mill behind bars. But the reactions across social media were interesting to say the least. Jay-Z himself actually went on Facebook and said this: "The sentence handed down by the judge against the recommendation of the assistant district attorney and probation officer is unjust and heavy-handed. We will always stand by and support Meek Mill, both as he attempts to right this wrongful sentence and then in returning to his musical career." Jay-Z is probably the last person I thought would ever speak about Meek's situation. We know that Jay-Z barely gets on social media ever, so to actually see him talk about the situation and publicly support Meek Mill is definitely a noble move from Jay-Z in my opinion. But there was some interesting responses on this Facebook post by Jay-Z. This guy right here says, "So while on probation, he fights airport security, fails drug tests, leaves the state without permission, reckless endangerment, and now everyone's surprised he got locked up." And another person says, "They need to understand probation is nothing to play with. Report as directed, no drugs or alcohol, stable employment, stable residence, complete all community restitution hours, no new misdemeanor or felony offenses. You comply, the officer depending on the state can petition the court to release you, and you only do half of what the court ordered." Some have a hard time just following these basic rules, which violates their probation, not arguing that the system isn't unjust and biased, only that when you are aware of the unjust system, following the rules can possibly keep your probation from being violated. Very well said. But even Lil Dicky went on Twitter and said this: "Sad to hear about Meek." The rapper Russ also went on Twitter and said this: "Regardless of how you feel about Meek, the system just did him dirty. Period. Free Meek for real." And another person on Twitter said this: "Brock Turner served 3 months for rape. And they're slapping Meek with 2 years for riding a dirt bike? The system is so damn fucked." And if you don't know who Brock Turner is, he's basically a rapist who got 3 months in jail. End of story. But as you can see, hip-hop fans and even big names like Jay-Z are actually standing up for Meek and speaking about the situation. But what's my personal take on this whole situation? Now, first of all, is the system broken, and does the system fuck up a lot of people behind the back? Absolutely. And we've seen it from time to time about famous stories about a cop who shoots an unarmed black man and nothing happens to him, and the family of the person who got killed want justice, but of course nothing really happens because the system is obviously more in favor of the cop. Now that's of course an extreme example, but the point is the system is broken and the system doesn't always benefit us. And as much as I love Meek Mill and as much as I really want to see the guy win, are we just gonna ignore that Meek Mill is an adult that makes decisions that either are gonna make him or break him? I mean, Meek really was not helping himself here. This is something the judge even said in court. "I've been trying to help you since 2009, Judge Brinkley said. You basically thumbed your nose at me." And the person who made that Facebook comment that I showed you earlier put it perfectly. "You comply, the officer depending on the state can petition the court to release you, and you only do half of what the court ordered. You stay on top of your shit. You get to live your life like a normal civilian." I just think that it's extremely sad that it actually came to this, because no matter what, Meek Mill definitely had a really great year with wins and losses, an extremely good and solid body of work. But hopefully Meek Mill keeps his head up and stays positive, and then when he does get out of jail, he comes back even stronger. Just imagine Meek Mill coming out of jail and releasing another Dreams and Nightmares intro. That would be legendary. But what's your your personal opinion on this whole situation with Meek Mill going to jail? Are you gonna miss Meek Mill or are you not gonna miss him? And do you think that the system is wrong here, or do you think that the blame should be put on Meek Mill himself? Definitely let me know in the comment section below and let's have a discussion about this. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This channel is all about bringing together people like you who enjoy music and start a discussion on different topics like this. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter at BlackySpeakz, and I'm out.
You the one that wife that you eating her, treating her. See, I'm the one that pipe that. Soon as I'm finished with it, you can have a right back. If I get a piece of pie, my man got the